thank you so much. I would like to appreciate the possibility to speak here and all of you for you to come. Actually, at my place now it is a deep night, and the previous speakers were describing which gunas would predominate. So I will try to follow the text and to overcome these tamaguna, rajaguna, and go to Vedic descriptions. It was very interesting for me to find parallels between Vedic approach and modern scientific approach to suicidal behavior. So, let's start. Okay. And this comparison will be stressing for all the speech. This is the table of contents and some basic points I would like to speak on. We will compare the traditional approach to suicide. On the traditional approach, we mentioned the thinking that Srila Prabhupada was giving to us, and it is based on Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Sri Upanishad. Modern approach bases on psychiatrical researches. Then I will describe some factors and dynamics of suicidal behavior. Due to our speech about consciousness, we will describe what exactly is the basis for a person to make a decision whether to go for suicide or to escalate his consciousness, the level of living. And then I will say some words about my personal investigations, and for sure we need to settle down the rehabilitation programs. So, what can we find in Vedas about suicide? We can say that Atmaha is stated in Sri Upanishad, Mantra 3. We know that one who neglects the purpose of human life goes to the darkest hellish planets. Excuse me, the topic is quite serious. I would not like to spoil the mood, but one who has forgotten his relations with the Lord is considered to have committed his spiritual suicide. So, another reason described in Vedas is a desire to merge with Brahman, one who merges with impersonal ideas. And another is due to the cause of Abhinivesha, is one of the layers of subtle body, and it is deeply consisting and it influences our decisions. It gives us a subtle fear that influences of our life. And Tamisra, it is a reason of anger and envy to enjoy the material world, as the way as the Lord does, but we cannot. So the envy and anger is there. Tamisra, Anhatamisra, Tamas, Moha, Mahamoha, they are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So the only solution is given to appeal to Creator. It is given in Bhagavad Gita, and you cannot overcome Him. And the recipe is to understand that the Lord is sitting in one's heart and He is the best friend. Well, it is some statistical numbers, figures that are present in Russian Federation, and it shows that number of suicide due to 100,000 people goes down from 33 in 2006 to 25. It's in Russia. Russia is the second country after Lithuania, and USA, I checked recently, it is the 27th position. It's a low-rate suicidal country. Well, it shows that mostly suffering is teenagers and people after 55. The statistics shows that about 1 million people die every year for recent 20 years from suicide. It is the second leading cause of death among young people and old globally, by statistics of this year, World Health Organization. If to seek to the beginning of the teachings, of suicidology, we can say that it was stated by Emil Durkheim, 1897. He wrote the book Suicide and Social Attitude. And let us remember this name, we will mention it at the end of our presentation. Then, here in USA, Norman Harborough and Edwin Schneidman in 1961, they wrote a book, Cry for Help. And it was quite earlier than in Russia, 1974, and 1980s. Aina Ambrumova wrote the book Suicidal Behavior. And in 1994, it was a remake, 108 years later by Lester. So now it is a widespread system of assistance. It includes hotlines, it includes mental hospitals and crisis centers. Well, let us speak about some factors that could cause this, I suppose, mistake of decision. Modern psychiatry is looking for a person as a complex of body, subtle body, including mental and intelligence. And the World Health Organization also started to seek for a spiritual health. The doctor mentioned it in his speech before. So we can see towards the biological markers. There are 76 biomarkers of suicidal behavior, they found it. Yes. There are some somatogenical organic factors that could cause. They include incurable diseases, cosmetic defects, and some organic disorders that change the function of the brain. It could be trauma, it could be vascular and toxic injuries. Other layer of life is social life, and of course the attitude to a person in his family, in his surroundings, and the attitude to the life in general in society influences how precious life is or not. And of course mental patients that have serious disorders like schizophrenia or paranoid disorders or addictional or maybe affectional disorders, all of them are in a group of risk. So here is a portrait of personality who is a serious group of risk. When we were walking around this campus, Murali Gopal, he said that there are one person among the students once at 2 years who goes away. So it is a male. Women tend to keep their life. They do efforts but do not finish. He's a teenager. His bodily constitution is dysplastic. His educational level is not so high. His family was not full. He had one parent or did not have parents at all. Is it spread or not? That is the situation. He has serious isolation. He has no intimate friends, and also he has not any experience of selfless responsibility. He has not taste for austerities. He cannot handle it. That would cause, in our later talks, when there will be a need to decide whether I should go for my pain or should I handle it for some reason. So these people have less of this reason to live. Well, the dynamics of suicidal behavior is listed here. They are starting from just isolation tendencies, and through antivital thoughts they come to suicidal thoughts, and then come to external. First they were inside, then they go for practice. Any ideas just grow. And we need to know this tendency just for rehabilitation, because we will put it upside down. Then we will ask a person to drop his weapon. Then we will ask him to change his plans. And back to the very deep consciousness. And Modern approach describes this personality for certain qualities. They are hopelessness mostly, they are psychalgia, it is a mental pain. Yeah. And he has serious problems with understanding what to do and lack of willpower to overcome the impulsive tendency to finish what he was deciding to do. And if we look from traditional approach, it is not just bad karma. It is adharma, it is a lack of understanding what a person has to do to his bodily concept, to his born possibilities, and to his spiritual duty. Well, after he finishes, post-suicide typology was based on different 3 points mainly. Did patient understand? Did the situation change? And did he refuse to change and finish the attempt? So there are 4 types of post-suicidal period. I was trying to help them in inpatient department. Here are some figures. The rehabilitation was successful. There is a psychometric scales, but that is not the main point. The main point is that traditional approach gives us a possibility to speak with the soul, with the internal essence of a person, because crisis, a person internally cannot live as he did before, and externally he has nobody to go to speak with. That is the situation, and this is a crisis, and this crisis is a point of desperation. Actually, it is a point when a person can level up, when a person can progress extremely fast. He has nothing to take care of in this material world, actually, at this point. But when he has lack of intelligence, when he has no mercy from outside, when he has has a lack of some genetic or other material, we would say, his decision could be influenced by tamakun, by the ignorance, by the lack of knowledge, we would say. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge for a person who would assist him. And of course, this situation as a personal loss was described in a very nice seminar of His Grace Rabinus Rupa Prabhu. He allowed to mention him here. And as a final, I would compare modern approach and Vedic approach. They are more or less similar. With the lack of time, I would not go to the details, but what is the main? Modern psychiatrists say that, and suicidology in particular, they say that complex of methods should be mentioned. We should help for social situation, we should go for internal help if a person receives it, reciprocates normally. And also we should fix the internal neurobiological substances, we should use medical drugs. In spite of that, spiritual guides say that if social rehabilitation is effective, and if spiritual practice is quite strong, that means that a person has a deep internal understanding that I am not this body. It is easy to understand. But how is it possible to understand that I am not that mind that is painful? That is the point. That is the point. So if it is possible somehow, and that is the challenge for assistant, then person can grow up very fast. And we have an example. We have an example. You remember that Durkheim, he is a founder of modern suicidology. There was a conversation between Durkheim and Srila Prabhupada. It was in 1974. I found it yesterday. Yeah, maybe 2 days before when I was preparing these approaches, modern and traditional. So, a representative of modern, if we would say Durkheim is modern, he comes to Srila Prabhupada and say his philosophy. And Srila Prabhupada did not estimate it as very high. After that, he said that you are not a body, you're a spiritual soul, you're part of the Lord, and your eternal loving relationships are with the service of the Lord. He had to repeat it several times. And after that, we know the quote. Durkheim said, "It is a very good news that I am not the body who has the soul. Rather, I am a spiritual soul that has his bodily experience." So that's it. Thank you so much.